Welcome to our channel, where we update the most shocking and dramatic details from the movie Beyond the Gates. If you are passionate about conspiracies, betrayals and unpredictable twists, join us to explore the story that is making the audience restless. And don't forget to follow and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any hot developments in the next episodes. On a dark night like The Color of Fate, everything happened faster than the blink of an eye but left behind consequences that lasted like an endless nightmare. Randy walked into the dark room. The dim light shining through the old window only made the space colder and more terrifying. In his hand was a loaded gun, a weapon that seemed to exist only to threaten, to create pressure in tense confrontations. But this time, it was the tool that decided the fate of Kenneth, who was once a colleague, once an acquaintance, now turned into an implacable enemy. The conflict between Randy and Kenneth was not a matter of a day or two. The hidden conspiracies, the betrayals, the power struggles in the dark had pushed both of them into a fierce confrontation with no way to retreat. But even so, none of them thought things would go this far. When violence spoke up and life and death were only a pull of the trigger away, Kenneth stood there, his body stiff with extreme tension. He knew clearly that Randy was not an easy person to predict, and certainly not a weak person who could be moved by words or pleas. But in the moment the gun was raised, pointed straight at him, Kenneth still tried to keep his breathing steady, even though his heart was beating so fast that it felt like it was about to jump out of his chest. His eyes scanned the room, searching for some small hope, a way out, a chance. But everything seemed to have been blocked. It was just him and Randy, two people pushed to the end of hatred, where there was no room for reason or mercy. Randy clenched the gun, his finger on the trigger, his eyes cold like someone who had accepted to trade everything to settle a grudge in the most brutal way. A part of Kenneth still believed that this was just a familiar threat. Like many other tense times, everything would eventually be calmed by negotiations, by secret agreements behind closed doors. But this time, everything was out of control. The hatred that had accumulated for too long, the deep wounds, the hidden truths now burst forth, taking with them Randy's last bit of reason. The gunshot rang out, tearing apart the silent space, like a death knell signaling that tragedy was inevitable. Kenneth clearly felt the heat whistling through his body, immediately followed by a sharp pain spreading from his chest to his entire body. Blood began to seep through his shirt, hot and dark red, each drop falling onto the cold floor, spreading into a long streak like a fatal cut into his faith in life. Kenneth's body swayed, his legs were weak and no longer strong enough to support his weight. He collapsed to the floor, his hands trying to grasp the hopeless void, his eyes blurred by utter terror and a deep sense of betrayal. Randy was still standing there, gun in hand, eyes unwavering, face expressionless as if Kenneth's death or life no longer had any meaning to him. The space was filled with eerie silence. Only Kenneth's heavy breathing and the sound of blood continuously flowing echoed in his mind. The pain from the wound not only tore through his body but also devastated his spirit, which had been weakened by the dark calculations and conspiracies surrounding him all this time. Each passing second seemed endless. Kenneth felt life leaving his body little by little. His eyes blurred, the surrounding images gradually faded, only a cold feeling spread from his chest to his abdomen, then spread throughout his body. His consciousness gradually sank into a dark space, where the boundary between life and death was more fragile than ever. But even in that moment of seemingly giving up, deep inside Kenneth still glimmered a fragile ray of hope, a strong desire to survive and above all, the will to take revenge. Exposing the true face of Randy, the one who dared to point a gun at his former comrades, breaking all rules and all moral limits. Outside, the sirens began to echo, hurried footsteps, and people's shouts grew closer, signaling that the real storm was about to strike. But Randy was in no hurry. He turned and left, leaving Kenneth lying motionless in a pool of blood, as the clearest proof of his absolute cruelty and coldness. The space returned to silence, only the steady sound of dripping blood echoed in the room, like a harsh reminder of the price to pay for endless hatred. Kenneth tried to get up, but his body no longer obeyed. His trembling hands clung to the edge of the nearby table. The wound on his chest continued to bleed, staining the floor red. Every breath became heavy, painful, every heartbeat seemed to be gambling with fate. He knew that if he did not receive timely treatment, everything would end here, in this dark, cold room. But he also knew that if there was still a chance, no matter how small, he would definitely take it, not only to fight for his life but also to expose Randy's true face, so that everyone would know who the real traitor was. The sound of approaching footsteps became clearer and clearer, and panicked faces appeared in Kenneth's blurred vision. A few people bent down beside him, their voices mixed with worry and panic. But to Kenneth, everything now seemed like distant, distorted sounds. He tried to open his mouth, wanting to say something, wanting to denounce Randy, but all the words seemed stuck in his throat. Only his rapid breathing could be heard faintly. Kenneth's consciousness gradually sank deeper into darkness, everything around him blurred, surrounded by coldness. The pain became vague as if drifting into an indefinite space. But somewhere in his mind, the fire of desire to survive and take revenge still burns, like a reminder that this battle is not over. That he still has a chance if he can overcome the fragile boundary between life and death. It doesn't stop here. This shooting will lead to a series of unpredictable consequences. Randy thought he had ended everything with just one shot, but that impulsive action opened the door to another series of tragedies waiting behind. The secrets that have not been revealed. The hidden calculations in the dark, and especially the unpredictable return of Kenneth, if he is still alive, will certainly be a counterattack that will make everyone terrified. Continue to follow our channel to update the most exciting, surprising, and dramatic details of Beyond the Gates. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any exciting developments in the next episodes. Thanks for watching.